everybody. Good evening. I see we've got a couple of hundred of you that are already tuned in. That's great because I have a very special guest with me today. Obviously, I wish this were under better circumstances, given the tragic events in Turkey, Lebanon, Syria. But I want to welcome to the show Frank Hoogerbeets. He's a Dutch researcher. He works for GOS, which stands for Solar System Geometry Survey, which is that's a research institute, and they monitor geometry of celestial bodies and how that relates to seismic activity or earthquakes. Frank Hoogerbeets, he correctly predicted the earthquake that devastated Turkey, Syria, Lebanon this morning, and he predicted a few days ago. And I want to show you just very quickly his tweet, which went absolutely viral on Twitter. I mean, I see 35 million views, close to 35 million views there. And this was on the 3rd of February. So Frank, thanks for coming on the program. Again,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, I wish you were under better circumstances, but what can you tell us about about this tragedy that's taken place in Turkey, Lebanon, Syria? Why did this earthquake occur, first of all, and how did you predict it?
Well, I do a lot of research, especially in historical earthquakes, and it's been a very long time since such a large earthquake has struck the area. But if you look at the past, and it can be hundreds of years, literally, like in the year 115 and also in the year 526, there were major earthquakes around magnitude 7.5. And so you know that region is capable of producing these very large earthquakes. And if it takes so long if it has been such a long time ago, then you know that stress must be huge. And that sooner or later, such an earthquake will happen again. To be honest, I didn't know it would happen in 3 days after I tweeted it. But I did say that from the 4th to the 6th of February would be critical due to critical positions of the planets and the moon.
And so basically, I mean, what you're saying is like it was bound to happen eventually because of the pressure building up. Could you tell us how many aftershocks there have been? I've honestly, I've been following the story closely, but even I haven't been able to keep up. What are these aftershocks and how many have there been?
Yeah, there have been a couple of strong and even a major aftershock. Very quickly, there was a magnitude 6.7 aftershock. And then surprisingly, there was a 7.5 a little bit to the northeast. And then also a 6.0, which is a normal aftershock. And with these major earthquakes, aftershocks will continue for days, if not weeks, mostly in the 4 or 5 magnitude range. But, we saw a 7.5, and this seismic activity affects the entire region, also Syria, Lebanon, and even further south. And these are all regions that can produce major earthquakes.
And, since we're talking about this area specifically, I mean, which geophysical and seismic factors make earthquakes possible in this particular area?
Well, we have the Eurasia plate and also the Africa plate, and they are colliding. And then we have some additional plates like the Arabia plate in between. And these plates are moving and pressure is building over time. So eventually there will be a really large earthquake. Sorry.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question. I wanted to ask you if there will be similar earthquakes, of this magnitude in the Middle East soon. I mean, how often can we expect them to happen? Because you said this was building up for a while. Basically in terms of recurrence, how often do you think this will happen?
Well, like this, geologists and seismologists, they talk about the earthquake of the century, because they usually happen only once 100 years or even more. It depends on the region. So it's very difficult to anticipate it for a specific area like this. They don't occur very often. But we can have a sequence of major earthquakes. We've seen it in the North Anatolia Fault, the northern part of Turkey. From 1939 to 1999, there was a series of major earthquakes ending in Istanbul in 1999. It is very well possible that this major earthquake will set off additional large earthquakes in the region.
Do you think local governments are prepared for a response, for these kinds of earthquakes? Because there are lots of countries sending aid. Just to recap briefly, I mean, you have, for example, Germany, you have Lebanon, even Iraq. They're sending Algeria, also sending aid and workers and soldiers to help with the rescue efforts. But what do you make of the government responses, and are they prepared and equipped to handle these kinds of things?
Yeah, there is aid coming from different countries around the world, and that we see that often with these kind of natural disasters. But it is pretty much unavoidable what happens, and especially the quality of the buildings, the houses, that's a big problem. That's why there are so many casualties. And it's I don't know if any country is prepared for such a natural disaster. It's huge. It affects a wide area, and fortunately, countries around the world are providing aid. But I think the real problem is the quality of the houses.
So, I mean, what is needed in terms of the structural engineering and architecture for is it even possible to equip entire cities with resistance to these kinds of seismic events?
Yes, there should be building codes, and so in order to make buildings more earthquake proof. And I think that's a big problem in these countries, because they are not, these are poor countries, relatively speaking. And even when they rebuild cities, is usually done rather pretty quickly. And the same kind of buildings, maybe there is some improvement, but with the next major earthquake, there will be a lot of damage again.
Right now, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's well over 1,000 casualties. Is that correct? I know it's climbing all the time, so maybe in a few minutes or a few hours it will change, but it's in this range, right, in terms of deaths?
Yeah, I think it's already over 2,000. And to be honest, that is still, it's devastating. It's very terrible. But if you compare that to what happened in the years 115 and 526, that was much worse, because each time, in those cases, there were over 200,000 fatalities.
Wow. Yeah,
it's unimaginable.
I saw you mentioning those earthquakes. I was wondering if you just briefly tell us about them and why they stand out so much.
Yeah, I think there were some kind of religious ceremonies at the time. So many people were gathering. I'm not exactly sure, because the historical accounts are relatively brief in this respect. But well, I think the main thing is this area can produce really large earthquakes, and it has been such a long time, so that people forget, and that's the real problem. People forget, and then they are not really prepared.
So something I wanted to ask you is not just in terms of your your research and your tweet, your prediction a few days ago, but given the seriousness of this whole event, do you feel that people are not taking this information seriously enough, that they should heed these sorts of calls like yours to avoid or try to mitigate in any possible way, the disasters that come with these earthquakes?
Sorry, that was a long question.
Are people taking these warnings seriously enough is basically what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most people do, I think, but there are always people who don't take it seriously, and even try to mock the system that I use, because it is not so scientifically accepted, even though the method is totally scientific, because what I do is it's based on measurement observation, and it's reproducible. So it meets the scientific standards. And I think I am the first one to do this research on this level. And there are many earthquake reports on the website, and everybody can look up the planetary positions at the time of historical earthquakes as well. But there are always people who will not take it so seriously. It's unfortunate. But if I look at the responses today, and also in the last couple of years from Turkey as well, most people, they tend to take it very seriously.
Have you been contacted by anyone from the concerned countries or other countries to help in any capacity, or to share some of your research? If you can talk about
that. Well, Yeah, I've been contacted by Turkey. Haber, I think there was a journalist this morning, and others journalists as well. There are many journalists now trying to interview me. So there is a lot of interest in this respect.
And can you just tell us perhaps where people can find, I have your Twitter account here, but where can people find more of your work and your research? I mentioned, your organization. Do you have a website? Where can people follow you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's ssgos.org, and there are also the links to social media from there, including YouTube, where I upload the forecast videos every couple of days. And well, I've been very busy, otherwise I would have produced a new forecast video today, so that will be tomorrow. But if people go to the website ssgos.org, there you will find also a lot of information, like the forecast, the magnitude probability, and also links to social media.
I actually was trying to pull up your website. I think it's crashed because the volume of people is too high, which I think says quite a bit. But I'll put your Twitter up at least so people can see that. And here's also SSGOS Twitter account. And I think the website's loaded now. Forgive me, it was a bit slow on my end, perhaps. So here's the website,
It's very slow. I have problems uploading in new information as well. It's been crazy today.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, with that said, Frank, thank you very much for giving us your time and coming on to talk about this, really tragic but important event. And it's really a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you for breaking everything down. I really appreciate it.
Okay, it's a pleasure having me.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay.
Guys, so again, that was just a short one, but I'll be back in a bit. And again, here's Frank's Twitter if you want to follow him. So that's Frank Hoogerbeets, and he predicted the earthquake today. Just to recap, as we were talking, it's about 2,000 people dead. It's really, really bad. There's so many videos of buildings collapsing. And then even after the initial earthquake, these aftershocks, again, they haven't even recovered from the first one. And there's still more. It's really bad. It's really horrible. I think given the next couple of hours and days, we're going to see the figure rise even more, unfortunately, in terms of wounded and dead. But that was really harrowing. Again, I'm pulling up Frank's tweet on the screen so you can see this. Like how he predicted this with such accuracy. It's scary. It's really scary. Here it is. So this was February 3rd. This is 3 days ago, and he said he predicted the exact area. So South Central Turkey, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. So right here, and even the scale of it. So he must be doing something right, to put it mildly. But yeah, this is really, really bad. And I want to add another point. This is just me now. I just want to say myself, and I made this point on Twitter, is that what makes it even worse is the fact that there are sanctions in Syria, because you want to recover from this. How do you do that when you can't bring in supplies? You didn't have the supplies to begin with. So, the sanctions make everything worse. It really makes it much worse. And this is exactly the kind of scenario that, I've been mentioning a lot of the times, is that when you need medical equipment, in this case, what do you need? You need people who are trained. Those people need their equipment. All of this stuff is very expensive, to have this infrastructure. I'm not saying, it's great that there are teams coming in. That's wonderful, but it's not enough, right? Like even a country that's not under sanctions is going to have trouble dealing with this. So with sanctions, how much worse do you think it's going to be? A lot worse. It's nice that people are helping, but if you really want to help, you would lift the sanctions. That's just my point of view. In any case, I'll be back in just an hour with Scott Ritter, and we will talk about the Ukraine war and a lot more, so don't miss that. Back in 1 hour, so that's 3 p.m. EST. If you're in Paris, Berlin, Vienna, Amsterdam, that's going to be 9 p.m., and if you're in London, that's going to be 8 p.m. Okay, so just see you in 1 hour, and thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, press the like button and share the video, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you very much.
I am once again asking for your financial.
Sweden wanted to join NATO. They broke with their decades-long neutral stance. Turkey was one of the only countries, I think, along with Hungary, that was saying, we're not going to let you in, because you need to have consensus, right? You need all the members in NATO to say, okay, you can join. Their bid has kind of been in limbo because Turkey wanted to, extract several concessions. It was very clear that they really want to join NATO in Sweden, and they were doing everything they could to appease the Turks. And then this moron comes in front of the Turkish embassy and burns the Quran. I understand that in their point of view, this is freedom of expression, and you're in Sweden, you can do whatever